She was the unsung co-star of the popular Love Boat television series that aired on ABC between 1977 and 1986. And although not as famous, Princess Cruises' first island princess was every bit as photogenic as her identical twin, the Pacific Princess. Both ships were used as occasional floating sets on the popular show, but only one received proper billing, and that went to the Pacific Princess. I last visited Island Princess at Pier 93, known to many as the Love Boat Terminal, in Los Angeles in 1994, 5 years before she left the Princess Fleet. Despite several recent refits, the still sparkling ship remained a largely unaltered example of first-generation Scandinavian cruise ship design. Island Princess began her career in early 1972 as Norwegian-owned flagship cruises Island Venture, a structurally identical twin to the 1971-built Sea Venture, which would eventually become the Pacific Princess. Both ships were built in Germany at the Rheinstall Nordseewerke yard at Emden and were designed by Swedish architect Robert Tilberg. Tilberg rose to fame with the design of Swedish-American Line's Kungsholm of 1966, considered by many to be one of the most beautiful ships ever built, and his firm would go on to design a huge roster of ships from the Crystal Harmony to P&O Cruises Oriana of 1995. With her Italian-inspired swan's neck bow, sleek lines, and airy public spaces, Island Venture and her sister were part of a new generation of purpose-built cruise ships. One of the twin sisters' more innovative features was a sliding glass solar dome over the midship's crystal pool, clearly inspired by the Magra Dome over Homeline's pioneering Oceanic of 1965. This all-weather design element would be commonplace on cruise ships of the future. Island Venture was introduced with great fanfare, but was quickly deemed redundant and would only sail with flagship for one season before being chartered to Princess Cruises. These rare images by Richard McGregory show the Island Venture on her maiden call at Providence in 1972. She looked her best in her original livery. One need only to trace the lines from her funnel down to her fantail to appreciate the fine detailing of her design. With her good looks and trendy cutting-edge flair, the 19,910 gross ton, 646-passenger Island Venture was just what Princess Cruises was looking for to establish themselves as the leading cruise line on the Pacific West Coast. In November of 1972, the ship ditched her seahorse logo for Princess's Sea Witch and sailed off to Los Angeles as the Island Princess. She was enough of a hit to inspire competitor P&O Lines to buy Princess Cruises in 1974. The following year, they bought the Sea Venture and renamed her Pacific Princess. The rest is cruise line history. Island Princess had 7 passenger decks, beginning at the top with Observation Deck, a terrace that overlooked the midship's crystal pool. A mere 18 times around equaled a mile. A bronze sculpture of a little girl by Norwegian artist Per Ung stood vigil over the tiny crystal pool. On Pacific Princess, the sculpture was of a boy holding a conch shell to his ear. Although not shown on the deck plan, Sundeck actually began with an open observation platform overlooking the bow that was accessed from bridge deck just below. The interior portion of Sundeck began with the airy Starlight Lounge. The handsome Scandinavian furnishings and a mosaic panel by Tilburg's son Thomas would be replaced in future refits. Sundeck continued with the Crystal Pool Lido, shown here with the solar dome open. And this is how the same space looked as built, with the dome closed. Walkways on either side of Sundeck led aft from the Crystal Pool to a sunning terrace overlooking the stern. A golf driving range was eventually added here. Although Bridge Deck was not officially listed as a passenger deck, it did have wide sunning terraces on either side and was used by guests to access the Sundeck observation platform. Crew-only walkways led aft to a terrace overlooking the stern on Bridge Deck. A narrow observation terrace, which was not open during this visit, led aft to some of the ship's best accommodations on Promenade Deck. On either side of Promenade Deck, there were wide, finite teak-lined promenades under a canopy of lifeboats. The library was located in a gallery on the aft starboard side of Promenade Deck. The intimate terrace room overlooked the aft portion of the Carib Lounge just below. It also had nice views over the stern through a pane of double-height windows. Promenade Deck ended on either side with teak-lined wings that overlook the Riviera Deck pool area. Riviera Deck was fully dedicated to public rooms and was framed with floor-to-ceiling windows for most of its length. Well after Princess acquired the ship, the forwardmost Carousel Lounge was turned into a showroom with bank seating. Originally, this space was furnished with traditional chairs and tables as the Antilles Lounge. Sadly, the textured golden scalloped acoustic ceiling tiles were painted a dull white in the latter Princess years. The aptly named Carousel Bar was located at the portside entrance to the Carousel Lounge. Behind the bar were 14 metal and glass panels depicting various animals by Swedish artist Benny Motzfeldt. The Bridge Lounge was a gallery-style card room just after the Carousel Lounge on the starboard side of the ship. Its inboard bulkhead could slide open to expand the Princess Theater to the full width of the ship. Originally called the Great Stage, the Princess Theater was a multifunctional space with terrace seating and audiovisual equipment that could be used for meetings, movie screenings, and cabaret-style shows. When the starboard bulkhead was being used, the theater entrance was from the aft portion of the Bridge Lounge. Adjacent to the theater on the ship's port side, the Crown Casino was another gallery-style space that was formerly the International Lounge. One of the ship's secret hideaways, the Skull Bar, could only be accessed via the aft corner of the Crown Casino. This quiet nook by day transformed into a full-fledged disco at night. The second of two wide lobbies followed the Crown Casino and Bridge Room on Riviera deck. The handsome dark-paneled Carib Bar continued aft on the ship's starboard side. The Carib Bar led to the Carib Lounge, which was the Island Princess's most interesting and imposing space. The Carib Lounge, with its Eero-Saarinen-style pillars and two-deck wall of glass, was an undeniably Scandinavian-style space. Spiral staircases aft led to the terrace room, and a large bronze abstract mural of an ancient sailing vessel by Arni Vinje Gunnerud dominated the stage area. A small gym was located in the aft starboard corner of Riviera deck. The Riviera deck pool, which was a glorified dip pool, was surrounded by a wonderfully wide teak lido that overlooked the fantail. A large selection of outside and interior staterooms spanned the length of Aloha deck. The forward and aft Aloha deck vestibules were connected via the mezzanine, or upper level of the midships lobby. With its helix-shaped staircase in the heart of the ship, the midships lobby was often featured on the Love Boat. While not the very first of their kind, these seagoing lobbies nonetheless led to the giant atriums found on future cruise ships. Outside and interior staterooms also dominated the length of Fiesta deck. The forward Fiesta deck vestibule featured a striking pair of sailing ship murals by well-known graphic artist Christian Eastahide. The Carrara marble-paneled lobby was home to the purser's office. Its main focal point was a magnificent resin and glass ensemble by Norwegian artist Franz Weiderberg called Wind and Light in Movement. The lowest passenger level, Coral Deck, had a selection of outside staterooms and the Coral Dining Room.
Please dial 0, crew SAP, please dial 0.
The Coral Dining Room had a sunken midsection and portholes along its perimeter, offering near sea-level views. This would be one of the last times I would witness Island Princess sailing out of Los Angeles, but before she left the Princess Fold in 1999, I would encounter her again in different parts of the world. After a brief post-Princess career with Hyundai, the ship enjoyed a successful afterlife with UK-based voyages of discovery as the globe-trotting Discovery. She was finally scrapped at Alang in 2015. If you enjoyed this video and haven't already, please hit like and subscribe to the Midship Century YouTube channel. You might also want to visit the midshipcentury.com website to see the artwork, furniture, and fittings rescued from the former Island Princess when she was scrapped at Alang. Thank you.